Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Michael Hall. The title of tonight's episode is The Giant Test. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. Fresh off the Giant W, the Giant dub, that is the Washington won 27-22. Pushing Giants all the way ass down to the bottom of the division, send them down the well is where they belong to 2-7 at the bottom of the division. Well, Washington advances to 7-2 atop of the division. And obviously the Cowboys lost today. I'm not sure how long they're going to be without for Dak Prescott. He got injured in that game as well. But that being said, Hall, let's hand out some game beers. Just without ripping off stats. Let's just. Can I just say one thing before we get going though?
Yes, sir.
How weird is it to expect dubs and get them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. This is this crazy world we're living in, man. It's like Bizarro world, but I'm here for it. I'm here to be. If this is Bizarro world, I don't ever want to go home. But
No kidding.
who game beers? I mean,
Game
first
beer.
off, I got to say, my man Jeremy Chin.
Yes.
He was a dude.
13 tackles today, led the team.
Yeah, he was a dude from the beginning of the game. I could tell he was flying around. He was flashing off the screen, making plays, breaking up passes in the pass receiving game, making tackles left and right, open field tackles. He was definitely like a dude that was fired up. You could tell he was just locked in, like 100%, 110% locked in today. So I'll definitely say Jeremy Chin is a dude that definitely can get a game beer.
Yeah, dude. Malik Neighbors took that end around. He took that pass backwards. Jeremy Chin just flies up the field, taking him out.
Yeah.
Leading to Jaden Daniels having to talk crap to him from the sideline. Like, Malik, you can't do that in the NFL, bro. Oh, what a great game that was today. And I think is right because Jeremy Chin also had 2 tackles for loss that we just included, a 1 pass deflection. The 1 pass deflection was on 3rd down. It was fantastically played on the tight end. Obviously, he ended up coming back, and we all know about Theo Johnson and rookie tight end at Penn State last season that we kind of highlighted in the pre-draft process. Wasn't overly taken aback by his play, but obviously he stepped up a big way for New York, and it's just sorry for him that he had to get drafted there. But for me, somebody that's getting my game beer is Dante Fowler. In this game, my unsung hero, I thought it was going to be Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler. Dorrance should have gotten a sack, but inadvertently came over top, hit Daniel Jones in the face before Daniel Jones just got knocked backwards like what's that guy's name? Nate Robinson in the boxing ring, just on his back. Yeah. So Dante Fowler with 2 sacks, 2 tackles on the day. Obviously, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits. He was a force early on in this football game. It seemed like that pass rush did deteriorate as the game went on. And obviously, defensively, things changed because early on in that game, New York was running at will up the middle. Like, they obviously had a plan. And look, do your thing. Please do. But when New York runs like that, the one thing you need to do offensively, if they are going to run on you on your defense without throwing the ball heavily, you got to score. And you got to score in plentiful to take them out of that situation, out of the comfort zone. And obviously, that's where things changed in the second half. But somebody else do you think deserves a game beer? Not an easy one.
I'll go with. I'll say Noah Brown. He had a couple drops last week. He bounced back this week. I think he would have 3 or 4 catches today.
He led the team in receiving, 5 receptions for 60 yards.
Bam, there it is. So 5 receptions, 60 yards. He had a couple pretty nice catches where he had to adjust his body and bring it in. Jaden Daniels was throwing darts out here, and I would say, dog, he was pinpoint today. It was crazy. I'd say Noah Brown definitely had a bounce back week after. Obviously, he caught the Hail Mary, so he made up for everything last week. But had a couple drops last week, bounced back, 5 catches, 60 yards, and big game for him.
The huge pass early on in the first half, I think it was the second quarter, where
They got the
he
DPI. I forgot about that as well. Yeah.
he drops that dime to Noah Brown behind the linebackers in front of the DBs. He's able to
Hmm.
drop that thing right in front of them. Obviously, that one was huge in itself. But then we have to talk about the two touchdowns to Terry McLaurin, who he just showed up and scored touchdowns today. That's just Terry McLaurin. That's what he does now. Now that he has a quarterback, it's funny. Jay Gruden says it's safe to say that Terry McLaurin is the number one wide receiver. Like, where have you been, Jay? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what
Hey
we've been
Jay,
saying all along. All along.
I
Everyone
think he
keeps.
was being snarky
I
to
know
all
he
the
was.
yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, that's what the boy is. Number one wide receiver. He's elite wide receiver in this league. I don't care what anyone says. You can debate me all you want. That's fine. He just keeps showing up and producing. So I got Terry on my side in that regard.
I think what did Mitch Tisler call him? Terry McScorn. That's what his new name is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that throw, the second touchdown before the half, was monumental. I mean, that was gigantic. That was giant, so to speak, you could say. The placement, I mean, that literally was like grazing Deontay Banks' helmet to the point where all Terry had to do was turn around and go like this. I
Yep.
mean, the accuracy from Jaden Daniels today was off the charts. It was absolutely amazing. And then he comes back on right after that and has the errant throw where he like tries to retain it, throws it into the ground. And I'm just
Yeah.
waiting. I'm just waiting for Chicago fans to come out with that meme.
Of
Just
course.
I'm just waiting for him to say it. And then he had that bad pass to the outside. But look, man, the kid was on it today. He came prepared. And as much as last week was a scare and where everyone wanted to sit him in preparation for this game, they made the right decision. It didn't seem like the ribs were really hampering him in this game. I don't know what it was to you.
No, I don't think so either. I don't even think he had an injury designation coming into the game. So I think that's cleared up. Obviously, he took a couple hits today. You would like to see him kind of get rid of the ball a little bit quicker than try instead of trying to extend it as long as possible and make a play. But again, I get it because that's just in him. That's in his blood. That's in his nature. That's what he does. So can't blame him for being the player that he is. But and also he's a guy that he progresses game to game, week to week. So he'll go back at the film. He'll look at that. The coaches will talk to him, say, "Hey, don't take these unnecessary shots." He'll come back next week. Won't take the unnecessary shots. But yeah, it was a hell of a game. Offensive line played their asses off today. Um, yeah, man. So I would give a game beer to the entire offensive line.
0 sacks given up, my friend. 0 sacks given up. So that's a great one by you that the all offensive line all together, Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden. There was a point in time where they had a free rusher at Jaden, and he just sidesteps that rusher,
Mm-hmm.
and you heard the entire stadium go, "Oh, oh!" It was awesome to
Hey, they
hear
got
that.
one for Bobby Johnson today. OG Bobby Johnson.
Absolutely, dude. And going into this, we talked about it on Wednesday, where they average 4.5, almost 4.5 sacks per game, giving up 0 to the Giants' defensive line. That was a great job. And Serge, the shooter, the photographer for the Commanders, he talked about how Isaiah Simmons is a great athlete, not being used correctly. It seemed like they used him as a quarterback spy. Didn't do all that well today. Jaden was able to get the ball out of his hands. Didn't even hear his name once.
Nope.
Sam Cosmi was strapping up Dexter Lawrence. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
hear his name a lick, dude, which is great news. And that's how you win football games. And so somebody else that will get my game beer, obviously Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, they deserve it. They're the popular kids. We don't need to give them game beers. They already have people
They're
offering
over
them
there
now.
popping champagne. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? They got the VIP. They got the free bottles in the section. They're, you know what I'm saying? They're good.
Yes. The other one is Chris Rodriguez.
I was going to go to him. Good, John. That was a good
My
one.
goodness, my friend. 11 carries, 52 yards, average 4.7 on the ground. He was running tough, dude. And like,
Yep.
those sort of carries where like you're supposed to be down at the 5 yard line, but he keeps pushing up to the 3.
Yep.
Offensive linemen love those type of runners because yes, you're doing everything you can to block a guy out of the way to allow him to get that space. But when you have a runner running as hard as you're blocking, man, do you love that, dude, because it just gives you a little bit more oomph and kind of confidence and that kind of aggressive behavior. And this is exactly what I was saying in the offseason why you needed to retain Chris Rodriguez. Because if something were to happen to Brian Robinson, you need that hard running. And obviously, I love Austin Eckler, but this is what Chris Rodriguez brings you is that toughness, the aggressive style running where it's running down your throat and you got to stop it at some point. I think his vision along today was fantastic.
Yeah, he
Making a
had some nice
size,
cutbacks.
yeah, cutback was beautiful going up the seam and being able to get more yardage. It obviously, credit to Anthony Lynn. All these running backs seem to be doing their jobs, and it's crazy. As much as what Chris Rodriguez did on the ground today, probably the thing that I got texted the most about was his cut block that he
Hmm.
had on the free rusher. And
Yeah,
I
that was a nice one.
like Donnie texted me about that, and I was like, well, technically, he's supposed to take out both legs. But yes,
Yeah.
he did a very good job on that cut block. Obviously, Jaden was able to get the ball out, but Chris Rodriguez, chug that beer, brother.
Yes, sir. One more for me. I'll go to the defensive side. I'll go. I think Mikey Samerstill, just because he had a tough day today guarding Malik Neighbors all day. He was on the outside playing him a lot of that first half and into the second half. He was being physical as hell, like he usually is. I know he kind of got trucked by Daniel Jones on that one run, but I mean it happens to the best of us. But no, Mikey Samerstill again, another game. He keeps elevating his game week to week as an outside corner. It's going to be crazy because like they're going to move him into the slot, but just like showing the versatility that he has now going forward, they're going to be able to put him on the outside, play him on the inside going forward when they actually get another like legit outside corner that they want to put out there. So yeah, man, Mikey Sammer still just another physical game and a good job on Malik Neighbors today, holding him to I think he only had like 52 yards, 55 yards, something like that. So shout out to Mikey Sammer still. Chug that beer, bro.
Do you know the names of the two main characters in the book of Mice and Men?
Oh
Do you
man,
remember?
it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's not
Go ahead and tell me.
Stanley.
I thought you knew. No, it's
No,
not
I'm
Stanley.
asking.
Oh man, I can't even
Because
remember.
I can't blame Mikey all too much because that's what he's running into right there. That's that strength there, dude. That's natural strength that you can't do anything against. I'm not gonna get him like Mark Sanchez today. Just I don't know what it is about the Giants. I don't know if he's like helping coach up Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones was certainly playing like it, but he was all on board for the Giants today. At one point, the other commentator even said,
Lenny.
when yeah, Lenny, that's what it was,
Yeah,
is
Lenny.
Lenny. That's you got Lenny running back there. It's hard to bring that guy down, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna get on Mikey too bad. But there was at one point where we get the pick and it's the DPI on Mikey Samerstill. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, because they denied the penalty, if they come out and say that he was down, does that mean it's
Yeah.
our ball? Because he already denied the penalty. And I know that's what Mark Sanchez was thinking, but the color commentator even says to him, he's like, oh, I see you freaking out about it, but why are you freaking out, Mark?
It was weird how like kind of like biased he was to like Daniel Jones and the Giants
It's
and
that man bun, that New
yeah,
York
I
style,
don't know, it
bro.
was weird, man. I mean,
Gym
he
tan
was a
and
new
laundry.
he's a New York guy. He was with the Jets, so maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. It was weird.
You would think there would be more of a rivalry there if that
Maybe
being
I mean
said.
he was here for a little bit, and we didn't. Our fans kind of fried him up, so maybe that's part of it also.
I mean, he did play like it though. I
I
mean,
know.
he was ass, bro. I remember that was when Josh Johnson came in, was doing better than him. I love
So
Josh
that's when we
Johnson.
had like six quarterbacks that year, whatever the hell it was. Like,
Insane. But look, you deserve it, Mark. I'm sorry. And like, please don't bring that guy back. I mean,
I
can we
know.
be honest? The man bun can go somewhere else. Stay on
Well, that's
the
what happens
West
when you got the
Coast.
lowly Giants. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, we're a good team. We should be getting like the better commentators. But when you're playing the lowly Giants, sometimes you get the C team, the D team commentator. So what can you do?
Yes. And as much as I would love to give credit to Chris Rodriguez for his running style today, Austin Eckler was no slouch. 11 carries, 42
He's
yards,
extra physical.
one
No Diddy.
touchdown, 3.8 on the ground, three catches for 41 yards. He had a huge run at one point that was obviously very important. Running hard, like you said, and even on special teams, he was absolutely making stuff happen for us on some of those kickoffs. So, Austin Eckler, enjoy yourself a beer, sir. You got it. Anybody
You,
that deserves chores that you think?
oh man. I'd say in the first half of the game, I'll go with the interior linemen. They were just getting pushed around, moved around. They were just running right up between the tackles, left and right, pretty much doing whatever they wanted. But I'll say that they got it under control in the second half, towards the end of the second quarter into the second half. But yeah, I'd say the interior linemen only for the first half. You only gotta do like one or two chores. You don't gotta do a full set of chores. Just sweep the living room or something. I don't even know. But I'd say yeah, I'd say the interior linemen for the first half. Whenever Tracy and Singletary and Daniel Jones to an extent were just going hammer time with the rushing attack.
I know a lot of people are going to get on the Canadian, and I think it's very rude that they're going to get after Benjamin St. Just. Just because he's Canadian. It's not okay that we bully this guy. Look, man, he is who he is. And I think that one DPI that he had on him to the lower side of the TV screen, I think that was crap,
Yeah,
in
it
my
was
personal
fluky.
opinion. They were fighting for the ball. They were both
Yeah.
fighting in that, and then all of a sudden, that's a flag. I even thought I was almost about to tweet WTF, like laugh out loud. That's ridiculous. But I do want to talk about that offensive pass interference because there seems to be some difference in thought on that one with Darius
Oh, it was
Slayton in
Slayton.
the end
Yeah.
zone. What did you think of that one?
Uh, I see why they called it because he didn't really try to make a football move. He kind of you could tell like obviously everyone knew it was a pick play, but he didn't really try to make a football move as far as like finishing out his route or he didn't really sell it as far as like oh I'm not really trying to set a pick. So I would say that, but I can see why people would have a problem with it because to me it was kind of ticky tacky. But again, I see he dipped his shoulder, so he kind of made contact with the defender on the play, and he didn't really sell it on the route as far as like, oh, I'm running my route. It was kind of just like a let me just kind of run off the line and stand here type of thing. So it could have went either way. If they wouldn't have called it, I could see why. If they did call it, obviously I see why they did. But yeah, I'm 50-50 on it.
I can't get over this. The Commanders just tweeted out the game prediction by NFL Network. They tweeted out the Adam Rank giant about everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a lone wolf in picking the Commanders to lose. And they showed like a Snickers bar being broken in half, and it says, "Everyone, be sure to check your kids' Halloween candy. My little brother found Adam Rank's expert pick inside of his candy bar."
Yeah, social
Dude,
media team is crazy. They put the hard knocks whenever he was talking to Dayball, and they would like show up the play, whatever. Tell what are you gonna do?
because they look alike.
Yeah, and then he was like instead of like drawing the play, just they photoshopped him like drawing an L on like the big like paper. Then
Yeah,
it's just like an L, him ripping off the paper L, ripping off the paper L.
that's beautiful. But in my personal opinion, with that OPI, it was flagrant because the times that they don't call the OPIs is when the wide receiver obstructs the DB, the defender, by running a route. It's not like they're purposely going up and absorbing contact. It's not our fault that Darius Slayton doesn't understand the concept. And all he did was run straight forward and put his shoulder into the guy and
Right.
not didn't even run a route. It's not like he turned around for the
That's
ball.
that was my point. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, so it's not our, like, that is OPI. And if it's not OPI, it's an illegal block downfield because then it's categorized as a forward pass and you have somebody blocking downfield before the pass is thrown. So one or the other, it's a flag. Now, I don't care if he barely touched him. You at least have to show something. You show that you're
Right.
doing something other than blocking, which is what he was doing there. I just think it's funny that the only way the Giants could score points is by running a pick play, which was
Right.
shown in week 2, obviously, and early on in the season against us. But I did think that was very funny in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But bore things a little bit, let's talk about the total yardage and all the other stats here. First downs, the Giants won the first downs by 25-21. On third downs, the Giants were 6 of 11, while the Commanders were 5 of 12. On fourth down, both teams were 2 of 2 on fourth down, which is another thing to talk about. We're 11 for 11
11
on
for
fourth
11.
downs this year, dude. That is insane.
Yeah, man, that just goes to show you how locked in the offense is. Cliff is dialing up these plays and these short yardage plays on fourth downs, and it just shows the threat that Jaden Daniels is because a lot of these times it's like really just like a either like a handoff or they're running some type of bootleg action or some type of rollout action with Jaden Daniels and giving them the option to either run for the first down or throw it. So yeah, kudos to this coaching staff for scheming up these great fourth down plays.
And it just goes to show you the dual threat aspect and how important it is, especially in those short yardage situations where you can't truly put yourself in one way or the other. You have to be willing to defend both. And that's
Yep.
where it kind of really helps you out a lot. And Jaden Daniels obviously has done a great job. The only time that the Giants were able to go 2 for 2 in the fourth downs is because Daniel Jones did his Jalen Hurts impression by just leaning forward
Yeah.
with his Lenny ass. Um, don't give them all that too much credit, to be honest with you. They got lucky in this one. They're lucky they even scored 22 points. I thought it was funny that they went for 2 on that
Yeah, it
one
was
point. Like
weird.
I understand the analytics side of things and all that, but what do you think now?
Again, yeah, Dayball does some weird stuff. I would have just kicked the field goal, went for one, and been down by a score. And then, like your defense, it's not like they weren't making stops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
we were
we did
five of
punt a
12
couple.
on third
Yeah, we were
down.
5 or 12 on third down. We punted a couple times, so it's not like we're. It's not like the first game where we were just running up and down the field, up and down the field, up and
Right.
down the field. So, but hey, kudos to you guys. Shout out to the Giants and their coaches for not being our coaches and being dumb.
Yeah, we got to give credit to Lenny as well. There was a couple of those quarterback keepers that he was able to trick
Yeah,
Fowler on. And Fowler, like he plays it correctly by keeping his shoulders square, right? He's sitting there, and but the thing is he thinks in his head by going upfield, being square, that Daniel Jones is going to give that ball away, but then just commits too early and too much to the point where Daniel's able to keep it. Like you to be square, you got to stay square. Don't worry about that guy. Worry about that, and that obviously got us a couple of times in some yardage situations early on in that game. The Giants were able to keep things short on third downs, and that obviously proved to be a thorn in our backside. They were able to drive down the field, but look, this point we're 7-2, and I think it's awesome to see that they are 7-2 after the Hail Mary week because I understand what Dan
yeah.
Quinn means when he says the high of that. Like this was huge, being a divisional game. The high of that game, you could go into this big headed, and it didn't seem that way. They came into this game and they were well prepared. They knew what they wanted to do. Obviously, they were able to run on them. But like, if you're a defensive coordinator, you're like, okay, run the ball. I have confidence our offense is gonna be able to score points. So
Exactly.
go right ahead. You know what
We're
I
gonna have to
mean?
get away from the running game eventually.
Absolutely. And so I looked at this and really saying, wow, I can't believe that we're 7-2.
Yeah.
Like, and it's which brings me to the first question we have. And this one was from Deluxe in the Discord. If you guys just bear with me for a minute while I pull this up, which is coincides with it. Did your confidence level change throughout the game? Personally, I felt they would close it out. Just wish it happened earlier.
No, my confidence level didn't change. I knew once we went up by those double digits that with like a couple minutes left that it was pretty much over. I would have liked to punch it in, like we were talking about with Rodriguez when he should have scored. We should have gave him that touchdown at the end, but they ended up kicking the field goal, 20-yarder with Cyber. But we went up by whatever it was, 11 points, 12 points, whatever the difference
11, yeah.
was. Yeah, but yeah, my confidence didn't waver. I kind of figured they would drive the ball down the field and get some type of points. I didn't expect them to get that kind of that big pass play with the tight end, but yeah, confidence didn't waver. I knew that our offense was going to be able to, even when they got the ball back, I knew we'd be able to close it out with the 2 minutes left in the game. So yeah, confidence didn't waver at all.
It didn't really waver until that Theo Johnson touchdown because I'm not going to lie to you. I was walking in my kitchen. I was like, that's the one thing you couldn't allow. You could not allow an easy, big play, non time consuming score. You needed to force them to go down the field chunk by chunk and liquidate that clock as much as possible to not give them a chance. We just saw last week, or our Hail Mary, we know how crucial time is. Obviously, Daniel Jones is not Jaden Daniels. I'm just saying
He was
we're,
trying to do his best Jaden Daniels impression today,
we are
running all over us.
we are not in the position to sit here and say, "Oh, it's all good." But like you have to be, and it seemed like that was on Quan Martin because Jeremy Chin was collapsing over and charging that ball early, and he just was way out of position to do so. Quan was in a much better spot. I think his eyes were looking west when they should have been just keeping looking south, if you know what I mean. But
Right.
like that did waver my confidence a little bit. But another game beer to OZ, man. Alamati Zacchaeus. He's not a guy that's highly sought after. It's not somebody that we were all like, oh, yeah, Alamati's here. He just continues to work hard. And with him, he had two catches for 48 yards. And that catch that he had at the end of the game really put the stamp on this game for us to the
Yep.
point where we were able to give the ball to C-Rod, get up the field, just stuff it down their throat, stomp on their throat, and say, it's time for you to go to sleep now. Okay? And that's why I'm wearing the all black. That's why I'm in the glasses, because I'm at a funeral. I was just at a funeral. And goodbye. We just swept you guys under the rug. You can go to sleep now. Let the big boys, let the adults go to work, okay? Because we have playoffs to look forward to. after so many years of listening to Giants fans and all this other crap, I'm glad that we're past it now. That's their
Hmm.
season. They're gone from here on out, in my personal opinion, and we don't have to worry about them anymore. We don't have to worry about them for another year. They're a good
Yep.
team. They're a hard team, and they play
Start up
us.
start up that mock draft season, fellas.
Yep, they play us really well. But guess what? We're better. Sorry. Anything else that you want to kind of harp into before we get into more fan questions?
Uh, no, this is a good knock out the rest of these questions.
Oh, damn you. Now, this one was submitted on Twitter by our guy, Tony Franchise. Thank you, Tone. First off,
Tony.
being 7-2 feels so good. Last time we were 7-2 was 1996, and I was 16 years old. 10 years older than me, Tony. Dang. But anyway, I wonder how Deontay Banks feels about Terry now after talking all that trash last year. LOL.
I'm sure he feels like an idiot. I mean, he got benched last week, and then he came out this week and got torched again. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, look, he's a Terp. I respect him. He's from the area. But this is what happens when you run your mouth, especially against a guy like Terry, who he just said today on there. They were interviewing him talking about because I guess they were probably bringing up the Banks and like last year, the whole situation. But he's like, look, I'm not a guy that's going to be a talker, but I just let my play do the talking. And he's like, I'm not a guy that's looking for the smoke or like looking for like the whatever, but like the beef. But I'll finish it. And today it looks like he finished it. He even hit him with the little boy John after he hit the second touchdown. So yeah, shout out to Deontay Banks. Get back in the weight room, get your weight up, get back in the lab, get better, be better, because your career it was going like this. Now it's going like this.
Tony. Tony. Have you ever seen Scary Movie 2? You know how when the clown comes after Ray and the clown is winning at first, and then Ray gets a hold of him underneath the bed. He goes, "Oh, it's Uncle Ray Ray's turn now." And then you see the clown come out. He's like, "Whoa!" That was Deontay Banks after today. Early on last year, he was laughing. He was having a great time. But then today, Terry McLaurin got in him and made sure that he was unhappy by the end of that game. You saw Jaden Daniels dap him up at the end of that game, and he looked upset, which he should be.
Dog, Deontay Banks looked dejected. Like, damn, they about to roast me in this film room, man. Damn.
Yep. And look, he's not a bad corner. Okay, he's just on a bad team, and it's
Yeah.
not his fault. All right, which is what he should have said about Terry McLaurin. But look, we're not all in that position. It's to have wisdom is hard to come by these days, and that's what Deontay Banks lacked last season. Okay, but from here on out, I'm sure he's going to change his tune. Which brings me up to next week. We got a guy in Mr. Joey Porter Jr., who we are facing this year, who had some very choice words to Emmanuel Forbes when he went live on Instagram. And
I forgot about that.
I
Yeah.
still think about Emmanuel Forbes not defending us more when that was going down. But look, I hope that Joey Porter Jr. comes to play next week. I hope our wide receiving core is up to the challenge because Joey Porter Jr. is not a bad corner whatsoever.
It's
He's
pretty
not.
good.
Very good. But we'll see next week. We'll see if he still feels that way, if he'll be pouting and everything like that. You know what I mean? Which is so funny. Right after I said Tony's question, Commanders PR just tweeted out this is the first time they've been 7-2 since 1996. So Tony's stats check out. Obviously, I shouldn't ever question Tony. Obviously he works for Fox. There's a good reason for that, of course.
Right.
But that's what Deontay Banks feels like. The clown in Scary Movie 2. You know what I'm saying? Now he's all butthurt, so to speak, one could say. Now, the next question that we have is from Deluxe. Do you think the team realized today that C-Rod is B-Rob's backup and McNichols is Eckler's? I told you that in the offseason, brother.
Yeah, I think they knew that, but I just think that this was more of the Dan Quinn effect of next man up and next guy up, where you're expected to step in and do the job as the guy in front of you. And we saw it with McNichols throughout the season with Arizona and throughout the season whatnot. He's earned more carries, and it looks like a guy like Chris Rodriguez, looks like they can depend on him not only in the running game but in the pass protection game as well, which is a big key and a big part of everything. He held onto the ball today, which is pretty good because a lot of times when you get out in the open field, bigger backs like that, sometimes they get the ball poked out from behind, like carrying it out in the open and whatnot. So Yeah, I think that if he's needed going forward again, when something happens to B Rob, or if his role is increased going forward, I could definitely see why, because he definitely seems like he's earned the trust of the coaching staff.
Yeah, Uncle Ray Ray's turn now. Honestly, it's almost like a Gatling gun. Whereas Dan Quinn and company, like you have to imagine these defenses are thinking like, when are they going to stop having production from somebody, you know? Because it's coming from Noah Brown. It's coming from Alamadi Zacchaeus. It's coming from Terry McLaurin. They were able to get John Bates out there on the sideline,
De'Ami
right?
Brown, you said De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, Diami. I didn't say Diami Brown, but great one. Emmanuel Chaguba actually tweeted us during the game. Was like, "You guys called the Diami Brown screen pass to the sideline." It's like, that's what Diami does. They had a good preseason together on that field, and obviously that was a huge play.
Yeah.
That really set things up for that Terry McLaurin touchdown. Where, dude, that was a full effort, nothing
Yep.
else. Credit to Diami because he fought his ass off to pick up this extra yardage. I just wish, like, obviously stats, I would love him to have more of them. But the fact is, he worked his ass off, man. And it doesn't matter who's out there, is that somebody is producing. And so it almost feels like that with C-Rod, where it's like these defenses are like, who's not going to do well, you know? And that's what it seemed like with C-Rod, where he's like, all of a sudden, Dan Quinn and them are giving the hot hand, saying that this kid's running his ass off. Let's just keep going to him because they can't
You're right.
stop him. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Which is a detriment to me because I had Brian Robinson in fantasy. I obviously couldn't play him today. I was very upset about it. So I put in Jeremy McNichols instead because my whole lineup is injured, essentially, all
Right.
my bench
Yeah.
guys.
Don't
And
even want to talk about fantasy.
I know. And then, of course, C-Rod is the guy that really comes out and really performs really well. No discredit to Jeremy McNichols, but to your point, Arch, yes, when you need that downhill kind of runner, in the wise words of Doc Walker, the rumbler, I think is what he called it.
Yeah.
It was Chris Rodriguez, and that's why Chris Rodriguez is on the roster. Because if you need that tough, hard runner in between the tackles, you have to go there. As much as Austin Eckler does a great job with it, he is limited in that capacity somewhat. And so that's why, yeah, I think they already knew this, but I think today was much more so of them saying, let's keep giving it to the hot hand because he obviously has more legs under him than the other guys, just terms of where they were in that game at that time. And he was obviously doing very well. I mean, that vision was off the charts today, man.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it enough. Now, the next question is from Yam Sensei. I brought it up before. I'm bringing it up again. Besides straight up coaching, how in the world can they fix these deficiencies on the defense, especially with the run game and penalties, blown coverage like with Benjamin St. Juste? It's very rude going up to the Canadian like that.
Um, I would just say he's going to have to get more consistent pressure. I mean, that's all it's really going to come down to. You've seen that if they can get after the passer, then and create those second and long, third and longs, then usually they can get off the field and get a couple stops here and there and whatnot. But yeah, at this point, I mean, it's midway through the season. Even if you make a trade for, I mean, I know there's like buzz out there. They're are trying to open them, looking in throughout the market for maybe a wide receiver, which it seemed like today the second wide receivers as a group were like kind of showing them like, you don't need nobody else. Like we got this. Like, but and
It's a good point.
yeah, and I know there's other talk about they want to look into a cornerback as well. So I would say
I hope they
that
aren't looking at those Cleveland guys because they got torched
they
today,
were
bro.
getting, I don't know what was going on. They had people running wide open down the
Cooked.
field against them earlier. But yeah, I would say that at this point it's so far into the season, unless you're going to get a guy that's going to be like a game changing pass rusher to help out the back end. There's no real big changes. They're just going to have to keep scheming up all these stunts and gains and whatnot with the defensive ends and tackles, creating these pressures with Luvu and these blitzes. And hopefully they can set up, like I said, second long, third and longs, great turnovers like they've been doing recently. And that's going to help out the defense. So, or maybe they add a cornerback to kind of shore up the back end and helping them out a little bit. Maybe a veteran guy like a Marshawn Lattimore that everyone's been talking about. So we'll see what they do. But to answer your question, there's only a couple things you can kind of like tweak and work around to kind of shore up the deficiencies of the defense right now.
It's really hard to be able to fix the deficiencies with like penalties and stuff. Like is because if you try to be soft with it by saying you can't be handsy, you can't do the hand fighting, then you start allowing guys to run more free. So you don't want to tell a guy to stop using his hands and to stop being so physical, because then there's detriments in other ways. Whereas it's more so, of being like, use your hands in a smart sense. And it's not like Benjamin St. Juste is getting manhandled out there today. It's not like it was Emmanuel Forbes, A.J. Brown type level stuff. Like one of those penalties I've already talked about, I thought was like just was football, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And it honestly, it should have been incomplete. Obviously, I'm a fan of the other team, so I'm easily going to say that. But in just looking at it, that's a football play. Just two guys going after the ball, and he almost caught it and didn't, and then threw a flag because of it. You know what I mean? And that's just like the Mikey Sanders still one. That's obvious. That is pass interference, no question about it. The one on Benjamin St. Juste, that just seemed like two guys going after it. And we do have to give a little benefit of the doubt to Benjamin St. Juste. He was going against Malik Neighbors in 1-on-1 on an island. Hard to be able to defend that guy. But it's if you are going to fix it, it's being more so of being instinctual, seeing the play develop, because sometimes it does seem like Benjamin St. Juste is a step or two behind. Whereas in times this season, especially against Amari Cooper against Cleveland, when he had that plant foot go, he was getting upfield and going up and swatting that ball down. And other times he doesn't have that, and I think it's because he is concerned because who he's going against. Whereas he didn't have that respect for Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson against Cleveland, but he does have that respect for Malik Neighbors to where he's kind of hesitant to collapse and charge on that ball. And so you want him to have that confidence, but you also want him to be able to be in a position where if it is that stop and go, that he's able to get back. And I think that's why he's hesitant. Don't want to pile on him too bad, man. The penalties it's a hard one to navigate because it's much more so on what the refs are feeling.
Right. Like I say, it's so subjective for a lot
Right.
of times. Those like 50-50 calls are so subjective. It could go either way. It just seems like they go on the end of St. Juice getting the penalty more than it actually goes on like the non-call side. But I mean, everyone knew he was a handsy player coming in when he was drafted. He was handsy in college, and everyone knew that. I don't think he had an interception in Minnesota in college either. So
Mm-mm.
everyone knew he was a guy that was going to defend the ball, but wasn't going to really get you interceptions or make plays on the ball like that. And you don't be surprised that St. Juice from Minnesota showed up to St. Juice in Washington. He's the same player that's going to be kind of handsy with you. He's going to be physical. He's going to be there to make a play on the ball. He might defend it. He might not. It's 50-50 sometimes with him. So it is what it is. And like you said, he's been out of his role though all year as far as like he's a cornerback two more likely than not than playing as a cornerback one for the most part. So hopefully, like I said, he'll be able to get schemed up a little bit better and maybe make some plays on the ball. And hopefully the referees cut him some breaks here and there because he's going to be handsy no matter what.
Yeah, and then with the run game, it that seemed much more so of like a schematic kind of issue where they were just allowing that because like what I had said before, where yeah, sure, run the ball all you want. We're just not going to allow any big plays to happen over the top, like 30, 40-yard type plays happening. And that's what it seemed like. But I would say, how do you fix those deficiencies in the run game, Yam? Look at what they did in the second half. They were very stout against the run in the second half, where they had these stunt works. They would collapse the linebackers in the middle, which really nullified things. I mean, Tracy was running into a brick wall, it seemed like, every single time in the second half. They did a good job of nullifying it then. They made the adjustments when they needed to. So I think it's much more of a schematic thing, and they know the recipe for it. I think in the first half, it was much more so of they were holding on to that schematic change in case New York started to go deep, because that's what New York was trying to do. They were running the ball up the middle with ease, doing it well to be able to allow things in the back end to open up for Daniel and everyone else to be able to hit those guys. And so I think that they did the right thing by making the adjustment at halftime. And obviously, we gave up more in the pass in the second half than we did in the first. Daniel Jones went into halftime with like -8 passing yards or something like that. It was
It's
insane,
crazy.
insane. But like they've done that 2 weeks in a row now. Caleb Williams, what, at 33 yards going into the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
Daniel
I think
Jones,
I think somebody, I forget which reporter put it out there, but I think he said for the last 5 games they've held the opposing quarterback to under 100 yards passing in the first half of the game. So
right? And like that's where my whole point is. Like things just they made little schematic changes, and obviously that's why the passing seems much more open because they made those changes to stop the run up the middle. That was successful. They started letting things up in the back end, and then
Right.
Jaden had to do, and the offense had to do their thing to help the defense out a little bit, and they obviously did. And obviously, the 2 point conversions go a lot into that. Next question from Tim Towner. First rematch this year. How did JD5 perform? How did Cliff Kingsbury adjust? And how did Joe Witt adjust?
I would say Jaden Daniels definitely. You saw the progression. I mean, you've seen the progression week to week with Jaden Daniels, but you can definitely tell that seeing this defense the second time, he was a lot more precise. He was a lot more. Seemed like he knew what he was doing as far as like you remember the first and the offensive line as well. Offensive line was a big part of it because the first game, I think we gave up 5 sacks. Jaden was kind of running for his life until he got the wind knocked out of him, and then that's when he kind of started playing a little bit more from the pocket. But yeah, he was slicing them up. He definitely seemed like he knew what they were trying to do, how they were trying to attack him a lot more than the first time that they played him. Cliff definitely called a better game inside the red zone. He called a better game.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like he knew how to attack the defense a little bit more, which we've seen Cliff throughout the season, just like Jaden Daniels get better, 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 adapt to what the defense is doing. So he's definitely had a great game as well. And Joe Witt, we saw what they did the first quarter, like you were talking about. First half, they were running the ball. I think they ran the ball like 17 straight plays on us. They were gashing us on the outside with that read option stuff. They were gashing us up the middle with Singletary and Tracy. Second half, they made the adjustments at halftime. They came out. And also, the offense helped because we were up by 2 touchdowns. But Joe Witt and his defense made the adjustments. They came out, sewed up the run game, and then they, like you said, started giving up a couple things on the back end. But again, it's a give and take type of thing. So you want to put all your eggs into the basket of stopping the run game and killing that. Okay, cool. You're going to give up some things on the back end. So all three of these coaches did a hell of, or yeah, all three of the coaches did a hell of a job. Jaden obviously did a hell of a job. So I think that they definitely showed that they progressed from week 2, which up until I guess is what week 9 this week. Yeah,
Yeah, and I definitely think they made I will say they made the adjustment of the penalties being a huge concern on offense. They nullified the pre.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that was one of the things I talked about last week where I think they were gonna
Yeah.
play a clean game, which they did. So shout out to them.
They did offensively. They did a very good job. You didn't see them getting into those positions of the late rotations of players, of personnel, to where you had the ref standing in front of Jaden Daniels holding things up until 5 seconds left, and then we're forced to call a
Yeah.
timeout. You didn't see those rear their ugly head. You didn't see us doing the pre-snap penalties in the red zone. We were able to go down there and do things. We were able to run the ball with Austin Eckler to get a touchdown. And then the first touchdown, Terry McLaurin, we haven't seen that play before where Diami actually runs a legal pick route, where he runs the out route, but actually runs an out route. He
I think
doesn't
that
go.
was Noah Brown.
Was it Noah Brown? Oh,
Yeah,
he
it was
said
Noah Brown.
Brown. Maybe that's why I thought it was Diami. But
Yeah.
he runs that out route, and he actually runs the out route, but he does enough to be able to create space for Terry McLaurin just a little bit. And Jaden was able to put that ball right on his stomach. So I think those two, I think this is an extension of that 2 minute drill in the fourth quarter against the Giants. Jaden is comfortable. The game has slowed down for him. When he escapes out of the pocket, it's when the play breaks down. He's able to move outside, get away from people, use his speed to get outside, and pick up more yardage, pick up first downs. I think you're really starting to you really see the adjustment from week 2, where that 2 minute drill is what we're seeing now, and that's what we are getting out of the offense, and it obviously is reality into what we're seeing. Being able to go into the red zone without those penalties, crucial. And then Joe Witt, you're really starting to see him deploying his guys correctly. Dante Fowler early on in that game. I mean, Daniel Jones had no idea that he was right there. And
Yeah.
thank you to Daniel Jones. Like, as soon as I saw that replay and he's coming out, that ball pops out, I was like, dude, that's a fumble. His
Yep.
arm's not even going forward. His arm
Big
is here.
Phil. Big Phil. You gotta catch that, bro. You gotta catch that. That was your time to shine, dog. That was your time to shine.
You would tell Big Phil, just imagine that's a hot dog or like a hamburger. You know what I'm saying, my dude?
It's a big old T-bone. Just catch that
Yo,
thing.
you gotta eat. You gotta eat, my dude. You're gonna let that slip through your fingers. Imagine it's a cinnamon roll from Cinnabon. You know what I'm saying? It's so good. Those things are so good.
I
You
know.
gotta catch it, my dude. But that being said, that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
But we don't need to get into that because the refs, of course, just want to blow the whistle fast as hell because Morrow's like, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, which
Yeah.
I thought was going to happen on that play. I thought Morrow was going to make the call, and they weren't going to give us that turnover. But the defense came to play, and you're really seeing the maturation, the growth of this football team altogether from week 2, where they are an influence. They are aggressive. They are making things, turnovers happen. And that's what happens when you have pressure. When you bring, like I've been saying all along, the more pressure you bring, the more turnovers you get. And that's what we saw today early on in that game. Whereas I saw people saying they're in prevent in the second half here and there. Okay, that's fine. I think that the Giants were doing very well with play action
Yeah.
and being able to stop our guys and being able to limit them enough to be able to get the ball out and find the holes. And they were obviously able to do so. But look, credit to them. We got the dub. I'm a pallbearer today. I didn't like it. I will say that. I did have a smile when I left, but I respect it. I wish you guys the best down the road. I don't know what's going to happen to you guys, just not when you face Washington. I'm just saying that's where I just left from. Now, the last question that we have, this one is from the Colonel. He asked this earlier. Street Scores Rico is excited of rumors a number of players want to be traded to the Commanders by Tuesday's deadline. Can you confirm this report, and would we be buyers?
I can confirm this report. It was confirmed by the Ultimate Insider, Adam Schefter, who obviously has been pretty plugged into this organization pretty much since Harris and them took over. I feel like he's kind of like their go-to guy. Rappaport too, for to an extent, but he's kind of their go-to guy for the information. But this is not only like within the organization. This is other agents of like players that are out there telling Adam Schefter this. So yeah, it's definitely a crazy time. It's a great time to be a fan of the Commanders. A great time to be a fan of this team. And even if they don't make a play on up at Tuesday, if they don't make a move, just wait till the off season because man, oh man, the amount of people that are going to be trying to get over here to Washington, play with Jaden Daniels, play under play under Cliff Kingsbury, Joe Witt, and obviously Dan Quinn. And so, and then Adam Peters already has a great relationship with a lot of agents out there in the industry. So, yeah, man, it's going to be Tuesday. From now to Tuesday is going to be it's going to be an exciting time. But not only that, this off season is going to be a very, very, very exciting time.
Look, I don't want to be the Grinch, okay? But we already knew this. Like we already know that this was a reality. I guess we all
It's
just
good to
need to.
have confirmation bias.
Okay. That's very Chicago Bears fans of you guys, where you need the affirmation, you need the confirmation from somebody that you made the right decision. I get it. All my point is, we learned this from Brandon Ayuk, where he was literally begging us as Washington fans to help him get paid. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we all realized it then that this was a different animal. Wasn't the same Washington where an actual player of high caliber of, I guess, in that, just speaking of what he's talked about as, saying, I want to go there. This is
What
a
was
different
that?
animal.
Player of high caliber? Oh, yeah.
I had to change it up. I was talking about how
I
he's
saw
getting,
that. I saw that
how
Nick
he's getting,
Saban. She was like, "Oh, whoa,
I was
whoa."
I got to be politically correct, okay? And how he's talked about as an elite wide receiver in this league, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's what people talk about him like. And so we learned this with Brandon Ayuk. I understand that we all learned it. I mean, we got the confirmation from Adam Schefter. I get it. I mean, I do. It's just as soon as I was tweeted, I was like, "This is news." Like
It's more
I
exciting for
thought we
fans
knew this.
because we've been the ones that have been like the sellers at the trade deadline, if anything like that. So it's like for to see that and be like, oh, like maybe we'll be the ones that get excited we add a player before Tuesday or on Tuesday or something like that. You know, I think it's more of that as opposed to like, because you're right. We did know going into this that like a lot of players were already trying to come play with Jaden Daniels, like Brandon
Like
Ayuk,
Bobby Wagner came
Bobby
here.
Wagner.
Zach, yeah,
Players love
yeah,
Dan Quinn anyway, so like that was already one of the things that a lot of players came attracted here anyway because of Dan Quinn. So it's just one of them things where like the big reporter out there kind of confirms it, and it's coming from the other agents of players that are like in the league currently that are like, hey, I don't want to be on my team no more. I want to go there. It's just one of them things where it's like when you started from the bottom where we were at to like get here as quick as it's happened, it's kind of like, oh, like it's just kind of like one of those like exciting, shocking type things. I feel like.
absolutely. And I understand why. I'm just saying. I thought we already knew this. Like that's
Yeah.
what Frankie Louvu literally said. That's why he signed here. He wanted to play under Dan Quinn and Joe Witt. Same with Jeremy Chin. Same thing,
Yep.
what they said. And so, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm glad that Adam Schefter is finally on board, is able to confirm it for us. Really happy. And yes, it is confirmed, Colonel, by Adam Schefter. And those are the two, you could say, national insiders, where like they are force-fed info from the NFL because they are the solidifying factor.
They're like the mouth of the NFL, basically.
Right, exactly. It's like it's not even to the point where they have ins with every office. It's like literally they get fed the info and then it just gets pushed out. I'm pretty sure it's not even them tweeting it, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure they have a team working for them at this point. Yeah. You know what I mean? All right, boys. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. Thank you to everybody who contributed and helped us out with this one. Thank you to the Colonel. Thank you, Tony Franchise. Thank you to Tim Towner, Yam, Arch. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. The team is 7-2, riding high, baby. It's a big week this week.
Momentum up.
Yeah, big week this week. Hopefully, Brian Robinson is able to come back. Fedarian Mathis did come back in that game. He was out for a concussion. He did come back, so it looks like he should be okay for this week. They pulled a Tyrone Tracy, so they were able to come back in short order. And hopefully, Brian Robinson will be back next week and be able to help us against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which could be a great game. Very physical team, two physical teams facing each other there that you have to be able to play your best at. And I know that Washington, as soon as they step into Honest Mondays, they're looking to head towards Pittsburgh. That's just how I feel about this, because it seemed like we went in, we saw a bunch of wood on the ground, we chopped it, we just went ahead and went chopping wood, and we're looking for the next batch. We're like, all right, you going to bring me some more? I'm ready for work. And that's what today felt like. It didn't feel like this was one that we were going to lose. Like we went in and we did what we had to do and looking for more. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up this episode. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll see you guys again on Wednesday evening. I'm sure Reed won't be there, but just giving you guys a heads up. All right, everybody. Don't miss Wednesday. It's going to be a great one. We have two fantastic guests lined up for that one. All right, everybody. Washington football. Woo!
Hello.
What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.